Hi, it's Katie Mackenzie, mortgage professional with TMG The Mortgage Group, and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Today we're talking with Brooks Ciesielski, and yes, I did practice saying his name. He's a project manager with Redpath Relocations, which is a residential and commercial moving company. Brooks, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Katie. Great job on saying my last name. Not many can do that.
And well, thanks for braving the snow. We are on recording today on the Stormageddon Friday, and I appreciate you taking the time and risking your life to come and be with us today to share who you are, what you do, and more about Redpath with us. So our listeners might be thinking, what's so exciting about having a moving company on the podcast? Like, honestly, what more could I know or need to know about a moving company? So what makes Redpath different? Tell us a bit more about Redpath and or yourself and your position with Redpath.
Well, thank you. Great question, and I hope I have enough time today to answer all those things. There are many ways that we are different from other moving companies. As you mentioned, we are commercial and residential. I would like to start first off by saying it is a family business where we joke I've been working there for about 11 years, but basically I'm kind of adopted. So it's great. I know everyone really well, and we spend a lot of time together, so our communications are really well. But back to basically what we do and how we're different is we do many different things, and our large focus has always been in commercial moving. So we have done many great things and moved some big companies. As we rebranded last year, we moved Nordstrom's, which you might have heard of. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
So that was a long move, and it was pretty amazing. I'm not sure if you know about loading docks in Vancouver and how the accesses are.
They're usually terrible.
That's right. Basically, we can't get our 50-foot two trailers there. So we had 174 trailers to deliver, and we basically had to shuttle all those into smaller trucks. So we had about 35 to 55 guys going for 3 weeks nonstop last year. That's a commercial aspect. We're sitting in this office here right now, and we're in a room with a bunch of tables and desks, and this is also a specialty that we do. So we'll come in, we'll build that desk right there, that large TV screen. That's a nice TV. Up on the wall there, we can install that. I think I walked by some cubicles, which we call service furniture. Some people may never hear that term. So we install those as well, and I can estimate how long that'll take in any type. So that's the commercial aspect. We do residential, which I know you deal with on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we do. We also do long distance with residential. So we're part of Mayflower, which allows us to do long distance moves across the border, across Canada, basically overseas. And we did book a move last week or a couple weeks ago. I believe it was to France.
Wow.
So that was pretty interesting, and yeah, every day's different.
That's a huge convenience then if you've got somebody who is moving residentially, but because of that they're also moving their business, and they may need setup in their new location. So what you're saying is that you guys can do it all.
We can, and because we're part of Mayflower, it's great. We have connections anywhere else, so we can start it at this end, and then we know someone who will finish it at the other end. So again, if you're going to Hawaii, I just talked to someone who had storage in Hawaii, so we do storage as well, and they have to move their storage back to Vancouver.
So if we've got clients who have sold their home and need to move into, say, a temporary residence and need storage of all of their belongings until maybe a new construction is complete or their new home closes, that you provide that service as well?
We do, and that's something that actually happens quite common.
Okay.
I've had a couple estimates this week in regards to that. I think one might have even been someone who you referred to us to, but yeah, so we'll go check it out. We'll see what has to be put in storage, what it'll take, what equipment that we need. Do we have to wrap anything specifically? We do specific pad wrap, shrink wrap, what type of materials, and then we could also tell them, how to put something into storage if they want to do it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we might just do the move, or someone else might even do the move, and we might go to the storage and set it up a specific way for them. They could have just installations as well, so it's kind of varies. We're used not always just for moving.
Now, what about downsizing and recycling, waste, garbage?
That's something, again, that comes up quite a bit and a lot. Some companies, they're growing, and then a lot of companies, they're not, or houses as well. So a lot of people, they may get older, or they just don't need They want to move to the city, want to get a smaller space. I know you deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
Again, so we can help them with that. I have furniture contacts that I always try to provide. So if they want to sell anything or give it away, Habitat for Humanity is somewhere great where I like people to donate. So we don't have to recycle or disposal. It goes somewhere where it can be used. So always recommend that. I have contacts as well that could buy your furniture, so you could use that money for your budget or for anything.
For the move.
For the move or for your storage. So for us, it's not always about making the dollar. It's how I can help the client and what solutions that they need. And I like to provide moving solutions.
So that philosophy would come back to that family owned and operated. You know, you talk about a crew of 50 people moving Nordstrom's, but yet you still have that one-on-one personalized service and philosophy of, you know, making sure that those clients' needs are met no matter what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, we are a family business, but and we are growing. So a lot of people look at us as a corporation. They don't know that we're actually a family business.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Now, I've noticed too that as a part of your value add, you know, Redpath has tips and tricks on moving plants, wine collections, who to notify in the event of a move, you know, a checklist, all those kinds of things. Tell me a bit more about those things, and or, you know, some of the strangest things you've moved or unique tasks you've been asked by clients to help with.
Okay, I look at that as a lot of questions, but great questions. So first of all, I do have a checklist that we give to all our clients when we come by and we do something called an estimate. We actually call it a site survey or a walkthrough. So we'll go to the clients and we'll also recommend them and say, look, we have this checklist. There's lots of things on it. Things that we want you to be aware of is schedule and timing. So on this checklist, it'll have specific things. We want you to figure out if you have packing, how much packing you can do, and if you can pack it as well. Another thing is that some people aren't physically capable of packing. They could be injured, could be elderly, could be lazy.
Not have the time.
Not have the time. And that's the number one, is not have the time. So it's a service that we do provide. But again, we're trying to figure out what the clients will need. So on that checklist, it'll also remind you to switch off all your utilities, such as gas, water, phone, hydro, of course, cable. Again, there's a lot of things on this checklist that we could sit here and read for a while, but it is great and it's handy. Going to now, what have we moved that's interesting and fun or challenging? We have moved some famous people. We can't name any names. I remember moving me when I was back out in the field actually doing most of the moves. Someone who was famous, they had lots of cardboard cutouts, pictures of themselves, statues. We have moved a UFO, actually moved from a movie site. One thing that I do remember is pretty interesting because it was about this time of year. I think it was a couple days. It was a 3-week move, but it was a couple days before Christmas, and we had a large piece of furniture that was going into a building. It was a hotel that was just being built, so we're bringing in and installing all their new residential and commercial furniture in the building, so it was split up with both. And not everything would fit in this huge service elevator, which is kind of amazing. It was large. We had this one piece that we didn't know what to do with, but it had to go up 17 floors. We always figured it out. I don't know how, but we actually used a crane while it was snowing too. And we used a crane, and we were lucky because the windows at the time weren't built specifically on that area. I think there was maybe a couple panels up. They had to push them out, and then we were actually able to get something. It must have been 15 feet wide. So we craned it up, got it through.
And it's never coming out.
No. Unless you're up there probably with a chainsaw or a hatchet, you're going to take it apart piece by piece.
Yeah.
And then we'll recycle it in storage for you.
Yeah.
But that was interesting, and that was also fun to, hit obstacles that we do hit and meet them.
Yeah. Now, there's probably a ton of things, too. You've got a list here of the prohibited items that you won't take, as well as items on your checklist here that you recommend people take with them. If we look at those, I mean, what are the hot ones that you want to let people know about that you definitely can't move? Say it's something somebody wants you to move, but to save them time and money, let's just let them know, like, what is an absolute no-go that you guys will not move?
Anything flammable and gases and propanes. So number one is always barbecues we have to move. Mm-hmm. So we can't move anything with propane gas in it. Okay. And then anything flammable, chemicals, corrosives, anything that can explode as well. Mm-hmm. There'll be a lot of cleaners that some people won't know they're eco-friendly. And during our site survey, when we walk around, that's something that we always bring up. It is very important. And thank you for asking it. Again, we will give this checklist as well as bring it up and go from there. A lot of our moves are long distance as well, so we have to take that into consideration and make sure that everything is safe for our team, anyone on the road, to make sure that all your stuff will get there safe as well.
So if you knew someone that was outside of Redpath's service location or area, which it sounds like no one is, but what would you recommend somebody looks for when they are selecting a mover, either residential or commercial?
You want to look into where you're moving and timing, like I mentioned before. It's really important. So you want to look at your timing. How can the move get done? You might need a local company. You might need someone who can help you find a local company if it has to. Some people don't know what a long distance move is. So from here to Abbotsford would be considered long distance for some companies. So will the other company be able to get someone else at the other end to help them that would be affiliated to a company like
Really?
like Mayflower?
Wow.
Yeah, it's different. Depends how big the moving company is, but we get that sometimes. So sometimes that can affect your budget as well. So if you're using another company, you have to wait for the other company as well, which affects timing and hourly rates. So things to look out for, basically, you might want to find a moving company that is close to you so there's not much drive time, because there's usually drive time that's considered in a move as well. So
they start billing from the moment the truck leaves the warehouse to the moment they get you.
That's correct. That's mostly for residential. Commercial sometimes may be different, depending. It could be a furniture company that has a contract.
I was going to say, is commercial more negotiable based on the move as a whole versus an hourly rate?
Great question. There's a lot of different things to look at as well. It depends on accesses, different things in the building that we have to work with. We might not only be able to move during specific hours, specific contacts. There's a lot more that goes into commercial. Well, not even more, just different.
Parameters.
Yeah, we can hopefully do another podcast on that another day, and I could probably talk about that for a couple hours.
Now, what about rush clients? So all of a sudden someone needs a move. Say it's residential.
Okay.
Can you accommodate rush moves? And is there a difference in pricing based on that?
Right away, I'd like to say there's no different pricing, and we're actually 24/7, so we don't charge different for that. Some other companies, I can't answer for them, but we've never done that. That's how we like to be different as well. But if we have the manpower, we will do it. We are a large moving company that is growing, so there's not many times that we say no. If we do, honestly, we would like to help you and try to send you the right way to someone who can. So, we always would recommend possibly someone else that could help you if we can't.
Yeah. And I know you move in the snow, because you moved a client of mine in the snow very recently as well, which is fantastic. And my client was overjoyed with the move and absolutely excellent service, so thank you.
Thank you, that's great to hear.
Is there anything else that you think our listeners should know about Redpath?
If you have any questions at any time about moving, if you're wondering, if you're thinking, maybe I don't want to spend any money or I don't have the time, it's going to take too much to plan, well, you never know on the type of job. It can really vary, like all the things that we talked about. Pricing isn't always an issue. At the end of the day, it might cost you less money to get a mover than, whereas at the time when you decide to, maybe if it's residential, get 8 friends to move, buy them maybe pizza or wine or beer, take them to a movie. It all adds up, but it's also time. So those are just some things to consider, and as well as just other things as you're going through a move. Do you have the right equipment? Is someone going to get hurt? Are your friends capable? Just little things that could happen that you can kind of avoid. So I highly recommend, if you have any questions, pick up the phone, give us a call.
How do people reach you? Great
question. So we could be reached by many ways these days. So our phone number at the office is 604-945-9910. I can be reached at brooks@redpathrelocations.com or info@redpathrelocations.com, and that is with an S at the end for Brooks and Relocations. And you can check us out at our website at www.redpathrelocations.com.
I myself, I have used a mover before I met you and then got to know about Redpath. And I highly recommend using the services of a mover. It definitely takes the weight off and the stress off. And I, for one, can tell you, you don't remember the cost of the move after you've moved. You remember the ease, the pleasant service, and just basically the joy of moving into that new home. So I wanted to thank you for taking the time to be with us today, again, braving the snow and making it into the office. And hopefully we will have you back again. And to our listeners, thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. I'm Katie Mackenzie, mortgage professional with TMG The Mortgage Group. And Brooks, what would you like to say?
Just thank you for having me here, and thank you for also risking your life to be here in this snowy day.
Excellent. Have a good day, everyone.